Welcome to Bowling Over 50 Live. I am alive, actually. Good to be here on a Wednesday. I've actually done a few Wednesdays in a row. That's quite amazing that I've been able to do that. So welcome to this version on August 12th, 2026 of Bowling Over 50 Live. Excited to be here with you. Got a few things to discuss. As usual, this is about you guys. So you have questions, comments, statements, critiques, beef with me. Certainly bring those up in the chat, and we'll certainly address those today. Hello from Montana. Well, hello, Montana. I love Montana. Watched Yellowstone quite a lot and been to Montana, especially the Yellowstone area. Love the Yellowstone area. And so Montana is absolutely beautiful. You're way up there, though. It gets a little cold. Hello, Craig Whammy number 8. One of these days, you're going to have to tell me what that handle is all about, but we'll just call you Craig. Or Whammy. Whammy would be good, I guess. That is from an old game show, I think, called Press Your Luck, if I'm not mistaken. And no whammies, no whammies. So, hello. Good to have you here. You have any questions, comments? Let me have it, but we'll kind of get started with some of the things that I was going to talk about. One of the things I didn't talk about last Wednesday that I probably should have is the death of Jacob Buttriff from the PBA. I'm still interested and concerned a little bit of what happened to Jacob. Butters is what everybody called him. I had the pleasure of bowling with Jacob in some regional events. I bowled with Jacob in a national event one time, or around him, not necessarily with him. And then he kind of hung out here in my hometown, and we bowled a couple of tournaments together. I actually bowled a stepladder against him. Just the nicest guy ever, and I was always rooting for him. And just threw the ball so interestingly. In one of our videos, we talked about getting your fingers below the equator and how to generate a little more revolutions on the bowling ball. There was no one-hander that I know of that got his fingers to the bottom part of the bowling ball quite like Jacob. It was well known and talked about that he had a double jointed wrist, and he could really get his fingers really far underneath the ball. Interesting enough, we had a video come out, I guess this week. Sorry, I'm having to turn around because I've got computer screens behind me. The video that came out on Monday talked about timing. And it is a little dark. Maybe I need to find my light and get that set up. I mean, y'all don't really want to see me, and I'm sure you really don't want to listen to me, but in that video, we talked about late timing, early timing, and early timing is when you stop your slide well before you release the ball. A lot of bowlers with a lot of power, a lot of leverage, end up stopping their slide well before they release the ball. And then you've got late timing, which is, it's Jacob Buttriff. I mean, when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about him specifically. He is still sliding as he released the ball. And he kind of shuffles up to the line, and he slid and released the ball pretty much at the same time. Saw him foul a couple of times on national TV because he just kept on sliding. He slid further than nearly anybody I knew. And, but more importantly, he was just a good guy, and he'd kind of been through it. His mother passed away from cancer, just a few years ago. And I bowled with him right after that time. Oh, and I did bowl with him. Got a funny story about Jacob, I'll tell. I bowled with him in the New Mexico Open in Albuquerque, which is a big amateur tournament. Lots of money, still going on. Matter of fact, it normally happens in August. And so, but I didn't bowl it this year. I haven't actually bowled it in a couple of years. I've always done fairly well at that tournament, but I haven't bowled with it a couple of years. So here's the story. The New Mexico Open is bowled in a center called 10 Pins and More in Rio Rancho near Albuquerque. It's a 24 lane house, so it's fairly small. They've got 4 on a pair, and so they have a ton of squads. And, their patterns, the person that designed their patterns was the person that designed a lot of the patterns for the PBA. At least got him started, and he was working at 10 Pins and More with Steve Mackey, who was from, I believe it was Australia. So he was working with him, and he was designing his patterns. And the patterns for the New Mexico Open were always interesting. So this one year we had kind of a reverse pattern. So as you know, a lot of patterns are kind of have this Christmas tree shape to them, where there's on the outside, there is less oil than what is in the middle. And you typically see these patterns in one form, variation, or another, depending on the ratio, but they still are mostly shaped like a Christmas tree. Well, at the New Mexico Open this one year, they reversed it, so it was like a U. So I can't really do it with my hands, but instead of the Christmas tree effect, it was kind of the actual opposite. So there was less oil in the middle of the lane and more oil to the outside. And I hadn't bowled yet, so I was watching the squad before me, and Jacob was on it. And as you know, he likes to throw urethane, and he likes to throw urethane at the ditch. And I watched him. He didn't bowl any of the sweepers, and so he just walks in the door and get ready for warm up for practice. And I think I saw him throw the first 7 or 9 balls in the gutter. I am not real sure that he ever got any bowling ball to actually stay on the lane in warm-ups. And then he proceeds to go and crush it. But he was, the pattern is not advertised. You don't know what it is. You don't get to see a graph. You don't get to know the volume, the ratio, or anything. You just got to go out there and bowl it and figure it out on your own. And I don't know if Jacob ever kept a bowling ball on the lane in warm-ups. And I watched him for the first couple of frames, and he was still kind of struggling with it, but he eventually figured it out and made the cut. And he was just an excellent bowler and just a really good person. And the bowling world is far less attractive without him being in it. And he had a rough life, and just super sad. Some other news that's come out recently. Excuse me one moment. About the regional tour and the PBA. And I have some thoughts about it, and they are very preliminary, because the information that I've been searching for to find out what they're doing with the regional tour is not exact. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors. It's still not completely known of what they're trying to do. But here's what I have heard. So this is may or may not be accurate at this point. But in golf, you have the PGA Tour, the things you see on TV. And then below that, there is another tour called the Korn Ferry Tour. And you can play your way into getting a national tour card by winning events, winning multiple events, getting high on the points list on the Korn Ferry Tour. There are ways for you to get out of the Korn Ferry Tour and get a national touring card and play the national tour out of the Korn Ferry. So to me, what it looks like the PBA is doing is trying to start a tour for regional bowlers to give them more access to national tour events and make the regional events a little more, well, they're calling it this, elite. They're actually calling it the PBA Elite Regional Tour. They have suspended some regional tour events past September of this year. And they have suspended all the PBA 50 regional tour events, as far as I know. Now, the PBA 50 is still going to be in existence, and obviously the national tour, but the regional tour is going to be changing. One of the things I've heard, I haven't read anything on it, but it makes sense, is that they are going to stop allowing non-members to bowl regional events. At least the elite regional events, you will end up having to have your tour card to bowl those events. And you might still need, if they add more regionals that are not a part of the elite group, which is kind of the speculation that's going to happen, because in each region there may only be 3 elite events in each region, which is going to cause regional bowlers to have to travel a little bit more. There may be some events that are outside of the elite grouping that you still may need a tour card to actually participate in. And I'm a little saddened. I do understand getting rid of the PBA 50 regional tour in each of the regions. I do understand that. It's, us older bowlers who bowl regional events, you go to one of these and it's just not well attended. First of all, it's not well attended by the 50 bowlers, and it's not well attended by spectators, and it's just a reward at this point for having your tour card for a long time and giving you something to bowl. And so there are a few 50 bowlers, regional bowlers, that are pretty upset about this. You know, the comment is, you know, we've had our tour card for, 20, 30 years, and no, we cannot compete with these two-handers and the high rev rate bowlers, and now there's some SASBAs and some other events that you can bowl, but on the PBA side, there's going to be nothing, and it just seems like they're taking that away from bowlers that are my age. And I get that comment as well. A little saddened that that's going to happen. Now, what they are going to do on the regional side, because they're getting rid of the 50, is they're going to add more opportunities for bowlers with a tour card to bowl some of these regional events and the elite or regional events and still cash as a senior. So the way it worked before is if you made the cut on a normal regional event, then you would cash if you were 50 years old or older. And you would be just competing with everybody else who had made the cut. And then there was a check that was available for 50 and older bowlers called the first senior out of the cut, and they would get a check, which I have received a few of those, which was nice. So what I'm hearing right now is that they're going to be, on the regional tour side, there's going to be more cash spots for bowlers that are over 50 to make up for the fact that the 50 regional tour is going away. I do like that. But it's certainly going to limit the 50 bowlers who would have to travel to some of these regional events that are, outside the Metroplex area in Texas. So here are my thoughts, just in general. Again, without seeing the entire ruling on this, I'm just speculating. I'm not a big fan of not having non-members bowl. I understand that they're looking to try to make this more like the Korn Ferry Tour and make it more elite. But there are several regional bowlers who are non-members that, compete at the level that needs to be competing at, but they just don't bowl enough regional events to warrant having a tour card. And you're looking at one right now. I stopped paying my PBA dues last year because I just wasn't bowling enough events. I'm over 50 years old. I've got responsibilities here with my businesses and with my family, and I would only travel if it made sense. And so I was only bowling 1 or 2, maybe 3 events a year, unlike before when I was doing a lot more. And so it just didn't make sense for me to pay the dues to keep my card. And so the last event I bowled as a non-member senior. And I told you about how that just was a fiasco. So, what I think is going to happen, because they are limiting that to members only, that the fields are going to get a lot smaller. And you might not get all the best bowlers in the region bowling these things because they have to be a member, and some of them just can't afford it, and B, just don't have the time. They have other jobs, but they're really, really good. I can think of off the top of my head about 10 or so in this region, in the Southwest region, who are excellent bowlers and have a chance to cash every time they step on the lanes. They just don't bowl a ton of events. And so they bowl as non-members. So I think the field size is going to get smaller. So what their thought process was, or is that the fees to hold these events are going to go up. And hopefully they're going to go up enough that the paychecks will grow, but you're not going to have the same field funding that paycheck. It's definitely going to be smaller. So then that's going to have another effect, which is that limits the amount of centers in each region that are going to be able to afford to host a regional event, because the payment to get into that is going to be more like a super regional, and a lot of centers can't afford that dollar amount. They're going to have to do a whole lot more work to find some more sponsors, but the sponsorship aspect of it, I'm not sure it's worth it, because it's not on TV. So now you've got this elite concept, which is going to have some media attention and maybe even some bowl TV or some other groups streaming them. So there will be some more advertising avenues to try to raise money to get the purses where they need to be, but you're going to have less bowlers. So to me, that just seems like a wash. But again, these centers that are hosting these things don't get a ton out of it. They can get some advertising dollars from some people in the local area, but the only way they're making money on these is if people come in and buy a Coke or spend money at the concession stand or spend money in the pro shop or things like that. And I'm not real sure that is worth it. So I'm concerned that it's going to also limit the pool of potential proprietors that would be interested in hosting a regional. So there's kind of my feelings on what's going on with the PBA Elite Regional Tour. I'm going to reserve any more comments and judgment on that specific issue until I see and read about the whole aspect of it. Right now, it's still speculation because nothing's really been posted about the exact rules and what we're going to have to do to bowl PBA events, especially in the regional. But if you've got regionals coming up in your area, I do encourage you to go to them, watch, have a good time, and make sure you buy a Coke at the concession stand and help those proprietors that are spending big bucks to have a PBA regional. And there's no gate fee. It doesn't cost you anything to go watch them. That might be the next step, is if you want to come and watch these events, there may be a ticket price, which would totally make sense. I mean, you buy a ticket to watch pretty much any other sporting event. Might limit the amount of people that want to come and watch, but maybe a way for these groups to raise some money. I wouldn't have a problem with going to a regional event and actually paying to watch, as long as it was reasonable. Again, chat is open for any comments, questions, anything you want to say. That's typically how the conversation gets started. And so if you got anything, let me know. We had a video came out on Monday talking about timing. I mentioned a little bit about that with Butters. I've had some really great comments about that video. It hasn't been it hadn't gone viral. Let's just put it that way. It is nuts and bolts. But I've had some really good comments. One of the comments that I just read just a little while ago is from a gentleman that said, I've totally changed his game, and that he was much appreciative. We've had another comment about getting your timing right, and a person that was a 5-step approach taking a really big step with their first step, which would have been with his left foot. And my comment to that is always, there are 1,000 different ways to get to the foul line. Maybe hundreds of thousands of ways. As long as you're doing the right things at the right time, it doesn't matter if you take 5 steps, 6 steps, 7 steps. Mark Roth, he sometimes took 5 steps, sometimes he took 7 steps, sometimes he took 6, sometimes he took 10. Doesn't matter how you get there as long as you're doing the right things at the right time. And that's where timing comes into play. And that's why I produced this video on generally how to get your timing right, and the aspects of good timing, on point timing versus early timing versus late timing. None of those are necessarily bad. But you got to get started right. If you get started right and you have the right leverage, one of the things that is kind of driving me crazy about my channel right now is if I produce a release video on how to release the bowling ball, those get a lot more views than some of the nuts and bolts of how to get to that point, which I think are even more important, because I don't think about my release ever. I mean, it's the timing. It's what I do in my backswing. It's how I slide, where my body position is. Is my head down? Do I have too much bend at my waist? Am I in a good leverage spot? When I do the things right, I don't have to think about my release. It just happens. Now, I did produce a video a few weeks ago about getting my rotation of my hand a little later, which got good reviews. A lot of people watched that video. And that was just something on the release that I am working on. Before that, my release was still pretty good and on time and in a good spot. It was just my hand was not quick enough at the bottom. And now that I've been working on the aspects that were in that video, my rev rate has increased. And my release is still similar. It's just a little faster. From Craig Whammy. I technically am getting back to 5 steps, but I noticed that since I've been retrained with a 4-step, it feels very odd to start the opposite foot on a 5-step. And also from Craig Whammy, I take a small step to compensate, which basically makes it a 6-step. Well, if you ever watched PDW, P. Weber, his first step is backwards, and then he starts moving forward. It's just a timing step. Whatever you need to do to get in the right time is what you need to do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with 6 steps. I'm 5-step. I take a really, really small step with my left foot when I get started. And the reason why I do that is it's more awkward for me to start the ball and my foot at the same time. I've been bowling that way for a long time. So a small little step gets me going. So when I do make that first step with my right foot, that the right foot and the ball are moving at the exact same time. That way, when I do the crossover step with my right foot, that the ball is swinging back behind my body and missing my hip. If I were to start with a 4-step and start the ball and my right step at the exact same time, I think I'm going to forget to do the crossover step, and I'm going to end up hitting myself, or at least having to manipulate the ball around my body instead of getting my body around the ball. You're going to hear me say that in a video coming up, and you've heard me say it before, and I will talk about it all the time, because it is an issue that I have. When I start not thinking about my bowling, I forget to do a crossover step, and I end up pushing the ball away from my body, and maybe that's what I've got going on right now that I think about it. All right. Mark Baker kind of helped me to get that, because he said it was easier for someone to do a 4-step to go to a 6-step, or someone to go from a 3-step should go to a 5-step. And he was right. Yep. I am not a Mark Baker disciple, but I find it very hard to ever argue with him. The only place where Mark Baker and I disagree is on drills. And really, he doesn't believe in drills. I, to some degree, do. I still do drills. When things are not going well with my game, I got to figure out what is going wrong. And so I do some of these drills that I teach on this channel, to get myself right. So other than that, Mark and I are kind of in lockstep on a lot of things. I explain them differently than he does, but for 99.9% of what we both teach is very similar. We just say it in different ways. I'm a big fan of Mark Baker. I watch his videos too. I think he's great. So it's hard to argue with him. A lot of pros go to him, so it's hard to argue with him. Well, yeah. Appreciate that. I mean, Craig says, I also have an issue with Mark Baker. Still do. About drills. Yeah. I think there's a time and a place for drills. And you're going to see that coming up very, very soon. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. You'll see that very soon, on a lot of the drills that I do. Well, let's just talk about it right now. So starting September 6th, so that's coming up in a couple of weeks, we will have a 6-part series called Bowling Boot Camp. Again, we don't have a lot of people watching the live right now. Most of them watch later. I will highly encourage everyone to watch Bowling Boot Camp. It is going to get right down to the basics of bowling. It's going to outline everything you need to do to have a good foundation for the rest of your bowling game. And every year I do the same clinic. So the way this will work is I have a clinic that will start on September 5th here in Lubbock, Texas. It's for adults, high school students, and middle school students. We don't have any kids going to it. So it's middle school, high school, and adults. And it's a basic training for bowling. It's getting your fundamentals right, because as you progress in your league season, sometimes we forget about the fundamentals, and getting back to basics and doing all the things correctly to get yourself in a good spot to release the ball well. And it's a 6-part series. The videos will come out the day after the clinic day. So they'll be coming out instead of Mondays and Thursdays, which has been where my videos have normally landed. We will be moving in September to releasing on Sunday and on Wednesday. So everything will be a day earlier. And I encourage everybody to watch these. I'm not expecting huge numbers for this, because it will be very, very basic things. Extremely basic things. And I do want to talk about that. I talk about it a little bit in the first video, but in part one of this 6-part series. But I want to explain, and this is a good opportunity for me to explain the concept here. So you'll hear me talk about this. I believe Vince Lombardi is one of the greatest coaches ever. As a matter of fact, I'm looking right over here on my wall, and I have a poster. Not a poster. It's a framed print. Heck, I'm here. I can show you. I'll just take my camera and right over there is my poster of Vince Lombardi. My framed print says what it takes to be number one. So I'm a huge fan of Mr. Lombardi and his coaching methods and what he did. If you don't know, the Super Bowl trophy is named after Vince Lombardi. And so I talk about this in the first video. So Vince Lombardi would get up every training camp. So the players would go to training camp before the start of the season. So he is talking to football players who have been playing football their entire lives. They know as much about football as he does. Maybe a little bit less, but you get my point. They've been playing a long time. They have gone through training camp. They have played college ball. They played in high school. They've been playing football a long time. Vince Lombardi, the first day, the first moment, the first talk that he would give to these professional football players is he would hold up a football and say, "This gentleman is a football." The inference is that he was going to go back to the very fundamentals, the very basic things that make football what it is. And starting with the very minute details of getting right and understanding the game of football. The very basics of football. And he did that every year. And the reason why he did that is you have to have the right fundamentals to be able to build on those. And you needed to make sure that those fundamentals, those basic things, were implanted, ingrained in them so that they can build on that. Well, that's bowling as well. There are certain things, little things, that we've been doing for a very long time, and if we do not do them right, it will affect anything else that we're trying to add to it. Some of my videos, if we're not doing the fundamental things correctly, those videos won't help you because you're not doing the very basics. So, I've had several videos that I've done that were basic on that level, but nothing like what you're going to see in September. I even teach how to pick a bowling ball off the rack. I do. I teach the kids this. I teach the adults this. There's a right way and a wrong way to pick a bowling ball off the rack. So stay tuned and don't quit. And stop watching just because I'm teaching you how to pick up a bowling ball off the rack. There is a reason, and in the video I tell you what the reason is. Got a bunch here. I'm always going back to the basics because I'm having a problem. Exactly. Thank you, Mr. Craig. Viking, glad to have you back on. That sounds like it's going to be a very good resource. I have the buddy training tools, and sometimes I'll be at home and I will grab them and I will go through several drills. Yep. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be the very, very basics. Again, starting with how to pick a bowling ball off the rack. There's a reason why I teach that. Buckle up for it. Just get past that. But we will start. And as I start with boot camp, it is boot camp. It is basic training. So get ready. I think it's a great series. I'm really proud of what I did there. And even part number 6, which is kind of all encompassing, which you're going to have to stay to part 6 to see what happens when you get your fundamentals right. So I'm excited about that series. Again, that starts September 6th, and it will run for 3 weeks. The videos will be Sunday and Wednesday, starting on September 6th. If you are in the Lubbock area and interested in bowling boot camp, it's going to be Saturdays at 12:30 and Tuesdays at 6:30 for 3 weeks. The cost on it is $110 for just the boot camp, but for $210, you will get your choice of a Brunswick new release bowling ball. So for basically the price of a bowling ball, you will get the bowling ball and 6 really basic lessons on how to bowl. So if you're in the Lubbock area, Plainview up to Amarillo, and you want to come to boot camp, it is open to middle schoolers, high schoolers, and adults this year. We added adults this year. Well, okay. Yeah, I understand. The comment is, don't know about this boot camp thing. My boot camp was full of a lot of push-ups. I promise you there will be no push-ups at bowling boot camp. It is just basic training for bowling. You will have to stay around and listen to me talk a lot, which was probably like either push-ups or having your teeth pulled, because I do a lot of talking, but there's also a lot of bowling. And I will try to shoot some video while boot camp is going on so you can see everybody doing these things, and I may try to edit them and plug them in every now and then just so you can see the groups and what they're working on and how they're working on it. I just couldn't come up with a better name other than boot camp, because it is basic training for bowling, and this will be year number 7 that I've done this. Vikings asking Craig if he remembers his drill sergeant's name. I did not have the pleasure of joining or serving, so thank you for your service. One of the things I do on Veterans Day with my high schoolers is I talk about that freedom isn't free, that there have been people that have volunteered to take time out of their lives to go protect the freedoms and allow them to be able to be in a bowling center and get to bowl. Without those people, who knows? We may not have bowling, and these kids may not have the ability to bowl. So thank you for your service. Sergeant Hawkeye and Sergeant Coffee. I'm guessing that was not their real names. Maybe they was. Hawkeye is from Last of the Mohicans, and the only reason why I know that, because I never read the book, is because I was a huge MASH fan. And so Hawkeye was named after, I think, the lead character in Last of the Mohicans, and was Benjamin Franklin Pierce's nickname, Hawkeye. Drill Sergeant, Viking, your drill sergeant's name was Sergeant Klein. Oh, it was their real names. Okay. All right. That's interesting. I don't drink coffee, but if somebody was going to nickname me, it would be Sergeant Diet Coke, which, cheers, everyone. He wasn't as bad as laid back as Hawkeye and MASH. Well, who was, really? Actually, Hawkeye on MASH was pretty keyed up. They were all through the entire program, the 10 years that, well, even on the very last episode, they were always concerned that Hawkeye was going to lose his marbles. And in the last episode, you find out that he finally does lose his marbles. Spoiler alert, but that's been out for 30 years, I guess. But Hawkeye did lose his marble. So I'm not real sure that Hawkeye was all that laid back. One of the other things that's going to be coming up, I think tomorrow, is I've been having a little issue body-wise. I'm back on this losing weight kick and trying to, because my bowling has been affected by my weight. And I am over 50 years old, and my leg muscles just aren't as strong as they used to be. My stomach muscles, my core muscles are not as strong as they used to be. And I've just had enough with not feeling like I can bowl the way I want to bowl. So I've started back. I'm on a diet. I'm walking, trying to lose weight, doing it a little more carefully because I don't want to get injured again like I did back in last September, about a year ago. So I've been trying to be careful, but now it's really affected my bowling because I've been walking every morning, 5:30 in the morning. I'm out there going, and that part is affecting my bowling, and it's affecting my video shooting. You'll see a video coming up. Well, even during boot camp, I struggled because of the boot camp videos, by the way. I struggled with keeping my legs underneath me. I just was getting super weak and super tired, and doing some of these videos, take me a couple hours to shoot and throwing shots and all this stuff. And I was really struggling. And I have been struggling. Again, I don't bowl league in the summer. I bowl some sport shot tournaments in the area, and it's really been affecting those. Matter of fact, bowled one last night, and it should have been right up my alley. It was a 37-foot pattern, almost 5-1, 4.5-1. Should have been a cakewalk for me, throwing urethane, and just nothing went right. I don't feel right. My hips don't feel right. They actually hurt. I'm supposed to bowl a sub tomorrow night in a league, and I'm almost tempted not to because I'm bowling awful, to be frankly honest with you. I mean, bad. I can't, my left side spares are just non-existent because I can't move my hips that direction. So when I shoot my left-hand spares, I throw straight at everything for the most part. And so to throw at left-handed spares, 2 pins, 4 pins, 7 pins, I turn my body towards the spot that I'm trying to hit, and I actually walk a little towards it. And when I put my trail leg down, my foot is still pointed at the pins straight, but my hips are pointed towards whatever mark I'm